it's time to hollow this kitty sculpture out, and it's gonna be a little bit more challenging than most sculptures just because it has this big, round, flowy body, but very thin legs. I'm working on a series of sculptures right now where I'm capping myself at a day max, and a day for me of working on a sculpture is usually somewhere between 4 to 10 hours, and I guess that's a pretty wide span. But for me, that is very quick considering I will work for a month on a single sculpture a lot of the time, especially when it is a custom. But I really wanted to do the series just to force myself to try a bunch of different techniques and to try so many of the glazes that I have never tried, while not being as invested or stressed as I would be if I was just sort of experimenting with a sculpture that took 100 hours to make. And so far, I really don't feel like the drop in quality has been that high, honestly. Like, I'm really enjoying what I'm making right now. I love the sculpture. I think the movement is really, really fun. It's just funny though, because the hollowing out process ends up taking about as much time as the sculpting process does. So anyway, I don't know if you saw it, but right here I poked some little holes in the ears. For this sculpture, I only poked holes in the ear and in the little bee hole. I hope I can say that, because I just aesthetically think it will look better not having any other open areas. So hopefully that will be enough to get the airflow going and make the drying process as well as the firing process smooth and non-exploitative. That is, without any explosions. So the first step of hollowing out the sculpture was to remove the head, hollow out the head, and then get into the chest as much as I could, and then reattach the sculpture as well. And when you hollow something out, I always feel like there's a little bit of warp going on. It's never like it's going to be a perfect attachment. So I usually add a little bit of clay that will also give it a little bit more structure, and then just like compress it and smooth it and blend it the way that I'm doing with my fingers now. It's weird because the hollowing out process is one of those things you almost have to do in ceramics, but it does not usually bring the sculpture forward a ton aesthetically. But besides that, I genuinely really like the process. There is something about like feeling like you're doing those final touches that makes it feel whole and good. For this sculpture, I also had to open it up a little bit on the side as well to get all the clay out that is sort of in the belly and in the back, because I wasn't able to smoothly reach that from the other opening in the neck without pushing or warping or putting too much pressure on the sculpture. As you may see here, the whole sculpture is resting on a ton of clay, and my whole plan is to hollow it out completely, put it back together, and then sort of let it settle for a little bit, and then remove all of that, and then add ledges for the firing process. I am definitely a little bit worried about these tiny legs and the comparatively large body, but hopefully everything will put together. I also really hope that the tail will stay on during the fire because it is so cute and flowy and I love it. As you can see here, the clay surface is still a little bit rough. I personally like to smooth it over with actually not a sponge. I have this cleaning cloth and I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a specific brand that I think is the best for smoothing out surface of the clay when you're working with smooth surfaces. However, I wait until the sculpture is almost completely dry and then go over it with it, because I feel like I can be a little bit rougher, but I also feel like the results are better. So I brought the sculpture back inside to remove all the clay that is resting on and remake those ledges. I also have this little key theme going on with that. It's mainly inspired by one of my cats, who is, I think, was a crow in her previous life, because she loves everything that is shiny and she will pick up keys all the time and drag them around, as well as wire and coins and all that stuff. She'll carry them Exactly like this, and I love that these will dangle a little bit, hopefully, when it's fired. There is so many sensitive spots with this sculpture now, so God knows how it's gonna go. I did decide to remove the big key though, because even though I had it as a theme, I thought about it a little bit more, and I just felt like painting the tabby pattern with the glazes and letting it flow throughout the body is just going to be nicer aesthetically, and the fact that she is carrying the keys is um still sort of indicates what it's about, I think. And here it is, with its ledges, but I did remove the ledges just to see so that it wasn't wobbly, and it actually felt really sturdy and well balanced as it is now. Of course, things can always warp and change a little bit, so who knows if it's gonna stay this stable. But yeah, I really like it. Like I said, I'm gonna do a little bit of clean up once this is a little bit drier, and then I'm just gonna fire it with all these little clay stuff that's holding it up and supporting it right now. Like I said before, I just really love the tail and I really love the loose keys, so I hope both of those things are gonna stay on throughout the fire. They are definitely the most vulnerable things, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.